الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. وصلنا إلى قول الحجاوي رحمه الله قبل الزوال وبعده. قبل الزوال أو بعده. So we reached where Al-Hajjawi says what? Before Zawal and after it. Meaning what before Zawal and after it? You can begin the intention for voluntary fasting before Zawal or after Zawal. طيب. يقول الشيخ وقوله قبل الزوال وبعده. إذا قال قائل لا حاجة لقوله قبل الزوال وبعده لأنه قال يصح النفل بنية من النهار فلا حاجة إلى قوله قبل الزوال وبعده. قلنا نعم هذا صحيح، لكن احتاج المؤلف إلى هذا لأن في المسألة قولا آخر، وهو أنه لا يصح نية النفل بعد الزوال، وتعليلهم أنه مضى أكثر اليوم مفطرا بدون نية، والحكم في الأشياء للأغلب والأكثر، فما دام أكثر النهار مر عليه بدون نية فإذا نوى بعد الزوال لم يكن صوما. ولهذا احتاج المؤلف أن يقول قبل الزوال وبعده. So he said before Zawal, whether it's before Zawal or after Zawal. If someone says, the Shaykh is saying, if someone says there's no need for this statement when he said, and it's correct to begin the intention for voluntary fasting during the day, right? What's the need of saying whether it's before Zawal or after Zawal? Because before or after is during the day. So why is he saying that? So what do you guys think? Why? It doesn't matter? Okay, so why is he mentioning this? Whether it's before or after? Ahsant. So usually when the fuqaha mention something like this, it's to repel another opinion. So that's correct. There would be no need if there was no differing. But however, the author was in need of saying that because there's another opinion, and they say that if past Zawal time, you cannot make a niyyah for voluntary fasting. And their reasoning for that is that most of the day has passed without an intention, and the rulings for things are according to the majority. And because most of the day has passed without an intention, then if you intend it after Zawal, they say that's not fasting. That's why the author said قبل الزوال وبعده. فإذا أنشأ أحد صوم النفل من وقت العصر مثلا يصح على قول المؤلف رحمه الله، وهو مذهب الحنابلة والشافعية، ولا يصح عند بعض أهل العلم وهم الحنفية يقولون لا يصح إنشاء النية بعد الزوال. And so, if someone, for example, began the intention to voluntary fast from Asr time, he said there's a small time between Asr and Maghrib, is that correct or not? According to what the author said, it's correct, and that's the madhab of the Hanabila and the Shafi'iyya. The Hanafiya, they say, yeah, you can start a voluntary fast during the day, however, it can't be after Zawal time. So if you start after Zawal, then according to them you can. It doesn't count because most of the day has already passed. So if someone came and did it at Asr time, then their fasting is not correct. Clear? طيب مسألة ولم يذكرها الشيخ هنا رحمه الله. من صام يوما نفلا فهل يلزمه أن يتم صومه إذا شرع فيه أم له أن يفطر ويقطع صومه بعد شروعه فيه. An issue now, the Shaykh didn't mention it here. If someone fasts a voluntary day, is it permissible for them to break their fast after starting it? Or are they required to complete that fast? Okay, someone, for example, fasted on Monday, started fasting. Are they required to complete it after starting it? Or can they just break their intention and break their fast? الصحيح أن له أن يفطر ولا قضاء عليه كذلك لحديث عائشة رضي الله عنها لما قالت للنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أهدي لنا حيس فقال أرينيه فلقد أصبحت صائما فأكل صلى الله عليه وسلم. The correct position is that you are allowed to break your fast, and you're not required to make it up as well. So you can break your fast if you're doing a voluntary fast, and you are not required to make it up. And this is due to the hadith of Aisha radiyallahu anha, which is collected by Muslim, where she said to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam one day, we were given hais. Hais is a type of food. We were given hais as a gift. And so he said, show it to me, for I began the day fasting. And so he ate. He broke his fast and ate from it sallallahu alayhi wasallam. قوله أو قال الحجاوي ولو نوى إن كان غدا من رمضان فهو فرضي لم يجزه. ولو نوى إن كان غدا من رمضان فهو فرضي لم يجزه. Al-Hajjawi says at the top, and if he intends, if tomorrow is from Ramadan, then it is my fard, then it is not sufficient. If he says, if tomorrow is from Ramadan, then it is my fard, then it is not sufficient. قال الشيخ قوله ولو نوى إن كان غدا من رمضان فهو فرضي لم يجزه. هذه مسألة مهمة ترد كثيرا، فلا يجزئ الإنسان إذا نوى أنه إذا كان غدا من رمضان فهو فرضي، سواء قال وإلا فنفل أو قال وإلا فأنا مفطر. يعني قال إن كان غدا من رمضان فهو فرضي وإلا فنفل، أو قال إن كان غدا من رمضان فهو فرضي وإلا فأنا مفطر. قال مثال ذلك رجل نام في الليل مبكرا ليلة 30 من شعبان، وفيه احتمال أن تكون هذه الليلة هي أول رمضان، فقال إن كان غدا من رمضان فهو فرضي، أو قال إن كان غدا من رمضان فأنا صائم، أو قال إن كان غدا من رمضان فهو فرض وإلا فهو عن كفارة واجبة، أو ما أشبه ذلك من أنواع التعليق. فالمذهب أن الصوم لا يصح، لأن قوله إن كان كذا فهو فرضي وقع على وجه التردد، والنية لا بد فيها من الجزم، فلو لم يستيقظ إلا بعد طلوع الفجر ثم تبين أنه من رمضان فعليه قضاء هذا اليوم على المذهب. لماذا؟ قالوا لأنه لم يجزم بالنية. لماذا؟ لأنه لم يجزم بالنية. The Shaykh says, his statement, and if he intends, if tomorrow is from Ramadan, it is my fard, it is not sufficient. That's what the author said. The Shaykh said, this is an important issue which happens a lot. This is an important issue which happens a lot. He says, explaining these words, it is not sufficient for a person to intend that if tomorrow is from Ramadan, then it is my fard. Whether he says, or else it is voluntary, or else I'm breaking my fast. He says, for example, if tomorrow is from Ramadan, then it is my fard, and if it's not from Ramadan, then I'll fast voluntarily. Or he says, if tomorrow is from Ramadan, it is my fard, or if not, then I'm just going to break my fast. I'm just going to break my fast. He says, for example, someone sleeps on the 30th night of Sha'ban. He sleeps early. And it's possible that this is the first night of Ramadan. And the news still hasn't reached them. Okay, they don't know if the next day is from Ramadan or not yet. He goes to sleep early and he says, if tomorrow turns out to be really Ramadan, then I'm fasting. And if not, then I'll fast voluntarily. Or he says, if tomorrow's from Ramadan, I'll fast, or else I'm not going to fast. Or he says, for example, if tomorrow's from Ramadan, I'll fast, and if it's not Ramadan, I'll just fast some expiation that I had to do. So he's making it conditional. Meaning, I am fasting Ramadan on the condition that the month has begun. Okay? So according to the madhab, this fasting is not correct. The fasting is not correct. His intention in this case, because his intention in this case is not correct. Why did they say that? Because they said his intention, there's hesitancy in his intention. He's hesitant in his intention. And when it comes to intentions, you have to be absolute and firm and certain. And so if he only wakes up after Fajr time, and it did turn out to be the first day of Ramadan, they say his fasting in this case is not correct. Because he had said, well, if it's tomorrow is from Ramadan, I'll fast. Why did they say that? They said because his intention is not absolute in this case. He's making it a condition. If it is Ramadan, then I'll fast. If it's not Ramadan, I'm not going to fast. So doesn't this happen a lot? قال والرواية الثانية عن الإمام أحمد أن الصوم صحيح إذا تبين أنه من رمضان واختار ذلك شيخ الإسلام ابن تيمية رحمه الله. وهذا مذهب الحنفية. ولعل هذا يدخل في عموم قوله صلى الله عليه وسلم لضباعة بنت الزبير رضي الله عنها فإن لك على ربك ما استثنيت. وذلك حين قال لها النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم حجي واشترطي وقولي اللهم محلي حيث حبستني. حجي واشترطي وقولي اللهم محلي حيث حبستني. قال فإن لك على ربك ما استثنيت. وهذه الرواية عند النسائي. قال الشيخ رحمه الله فهذا الرجل علقه لأنه لا يعلم أن غدا من رمضان فتردده مبني على التردد في ثبوت الشهر لا على التردد في النية وهل يصوم أو لا يصوم. فتردده مبني على التردد في ثبوت الشهر لا على التردد في النية وهل يصوم أو لا يصوم. ولهذا لو قال من يباح له الفطر ليلة 1 من رمضان أنا غدا يمكن أن أصوم ويمكن أن لا أصوم ثم عزم على الصوم بعد طلوع الفجر لم يصح صومه لتردده في النية. The second narration from Imam Ahmad, and so then you notice this is another position within the madhab. And this is the madhab of who? Hanafiya. And Shaykh al-Islam, madhab al-Hanafiya. They said that this fasting in this case is correct if the day turns out to be from Ramadan, and Shaykh Al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah chose this position. The Shaykh says, and perhaps this falls under the generality of his statement sallallahu alayhi wasallam to when he said to Duba'a bint al-Zubayr radiyallahu anha, فَإِنَّ لَكِ عَلَى رَبِّكِ مَا اسْتَثْنَيْتِ. You will have the condition that you stipulated with your Lord. You will have the condition that you stipulated with your Lord. And that's when she was sick and she wanted to make Hajj. And she didn't know if she could complete it or not, or she could reach there or not. So the Prophet ﷺ told her, make Hajj and make a condition and say, Allahumma mahilli, meaning my ihlal, going out of ihram, is wherever you detain me. Okay, because once you go into Hajj or Umrah, you are what? Required to complete it. You can't just leave it. You can't just go out of it. You're required to complete it. So if you make this condition and something happens to prevent you from continuing in your Hajj, then you just go out of your ihram. That's a condition. He's saying that you will have the condition you stipulated with your Lord. Okay? And so that addition is by the narration in An-Nasa'i. This is where he said, فَإِنَّ لَكِ عَلَى رَبِّكِ مَا اسْتَثْنَيْتِ. The point, he says, he's saying perhaps that when you say, if tomorrow is Ramadan, it falls under this statement, this statement of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says, and so this man, in this case, he made his fasting a condition because he doesn't know if the next day is Ramadan. And so his hesitation is because of the doubt regarding the month, not because of the doubt in his intention. Should I fast or should I not fast? Okay? What is it? What did I say? That hesitation he has is regarding the month, not regarding the basis of his intention. Because he's firm that if it is Ramadan, he's going to fast. So that's his intention right there. If it is Ramadan, then I'm fasting. So the doubt is regarding the month, not regarding the intention. He says, and so in that, if someone says, who's allowed to break his fast on the first night of Ramadan, tomorrow I might fast or I might not fast. If he says tomorrow I might fast or I might not fast, and then he has the intention, firm intention to fast after Fajr, is his fasting correct? If someone says, tomorrow I might fast or I might not fast. I might fast or I might not fast. He says that on the first night of Ramadan. And then after Fajr, he gets the firm intention to fast. It's too late. Now, why in this case? Because he was hesitant. He was hesitant. Should I fast or should I not fast? Of course, this is the case of someone who's allowed to break their fast. Someone who's obligated to fast must fast, must have the intention. قال لكن إذا علق الصوم على ثبوت الشهر فهذا هو الواقع فلو لم يثبت الشهر لم يصم وعلى هذا فينبغي لنا إذا نمنا قبل أن يأتي الخبر ليلة 30 من شعبان أن ننوي في أنفسنا أنه إن كان غدا من رمضان فنحن صائمون وإن كانت نية كل مسلم على سبيل العموم أنه سيصوم لو كان من رمضان لكن تعيينها أحسن فيقول في نفسه إن كان غدا من رمضان فهو فرضي فإذا تبين أنه من رمضان بعد طلوع الفجر صح صومه. He says, and so based on this, he says then, if we go to sleep on the 30th night of Sha'ban, you go to sleep and they still haven't decided whether the next day is Ramadan or not. You go to sleep. He says we should intend within ourselves that if tomorrow is Ramadan, then we are fasting. He said even though the intention of every Muslim in general is that they will fast if it's Ramadan, but specifying it is better. Specifying that is better. So you say within yourself, if tomorrow's Ramadan, then it is my fard. And so, if it turns out to be Ramadan, in that case, and he had woken up after Fajr, then his fasting is correct. His fasting is correct. قال رحمه الله ولو قال ليلة 30 من رمضان ليلة 30 من رمضان إن كان غدا من رمضان فأنا صائم وإلا فأنا مفطر. لماذا؟ لأن ليلة 30 من رمضان قد يكون غدا أول يوم من شوال وقد يكون اليوم 30 من رمضان. قالوا إن هذا جائز مع أن فيه ترددا في النية ولكنه مبني على ثبوت الشهر، فإذا كان كذلك فينبغي أن يكون في أول الشهر كما كان في آخره، لكن فرقوا بأنه في أول الشهر الأصل عدم الصوم لأنه لم يثبت دخول الشهر، وفي آخره بالعكس الأصل الصوم لأن الغد من رمضان ما لم يثبت خروجه. ولكن هذا التفريق غير مؤثر بالنسبة للتردد فكلاهما متردد، أي على قولهم فكلاهما متردد والاحتمال في كليهما وارد، فيوم 30 من شعبان فيه التردد هل يكون من رمضان أم لا، ويوم 30 من رمضان فيه التردد هل يكون من رمضان أم لا. وحاصل كلام الشيخ هنا رحمه الله أن بعض أهل العلم فرقوا بين التعليق في أول الشهر وبين التعليق في آخره، فصححوا الثاني ولم يصححوا الأول. فالشيخ يقول ما دام أن التعليق في آخر الشهر صحيح عندهم فينبغي أن يكون التعليق في أوله صحيحا كذلك. فالخلاصة الصواب أن من قال ليلة 30 من شعبان إن كان غدا من رمضان فأنا صائم فصومه صحيح، ومن قال في آخر الشهر في ليلة 30 من رمضان إن كان غدا من رمضان فأنا صائم فصومه صحيح كذلك. So the Shaykh says, and if he says the 30th night of Ramadan, before we were talking about the 30th night of Sha'ban, if he says the 30th night of Ramadan, if tomorrow is from Ramadan, then I am fasting, and if not, I am breaking my fast. Why? Why the 30th night of Ramadan? Because it could be Eid. It could be the first day of Shawwal, or it could be the 30th day of Ramadan. Right? So if he says on the 30th night, okay, if tomorrow is the last day of Ramadan, then I am fasting. And if not, then I am breaking my fast. They said this is permissible. Okay? Even though the same thing applies. And that is that he's hesitant in his intention. And so, if that is the case, then the beginning of the month should be like the end of the month. However, they differentiated between the beginning of the month. So why did they differentiate between these two? Because some said if you do that at the end of the month, it's correct. If you do it at the beginning of the month, it's not correct. Okay? Why did they differentiate? Because they said in the beginning, the month hasn't been established, and the basis is that we're not fasting. The end of the month, we're already inside the month, and so the basis is that we are fasting. The Shaykh is saying, however, this differentiating like this doesn't affect the issue of hesitation. Meaning, even if you differentiate like that, then both cases there's hesitation. So why are you saying it's correct at the end, but it's not correct in the beginning? So, in summary, the Shaykh is saying in this, some of the people of knowledge differentiated. If you make it a condition at the end of the month, it's what? It's what? Correct. And if you make it a condition at the beginning of the month, it's not correct. The Shaykh is saying, well, if you're making a condition at the end of the month and saying, if tomorrow's from Ramadan, I'm fasting, then it should be the same ruling when you make the condition at the beginning of the month and you're saying, if tomorrow's from Ramadan, I am fasting. And so in summary, in conclusion, the correct position is that whoever says on the 30th night of Sha'ban, okay, if tomorrow is the first day of Ramadan I'm fasting, then his fasting is correct. And whoever says on the 30th night of Ramadan, if tomorrow is the last day of Ramadan that I'm fasting, then his fasting is correct. So it's correct in both cases. قال الحجاوي رحمه الله ومن نوى الإفطار أفطر ومن نوى الإفطار أفطر. And whoever intends to break his fast has broken his fast. And whoever intends to break his fast has broken his fast. قال الشيخ رحمه الله قوله ومن نوى الإفطار أفطر وهذا سواء كان صوما واجبا أو صوما نفلا سواء كان صوما واجبا أو صوما نفلا. قال ومن نوى الإفطار أفطر والدليل قوله صلى الله عليه وسلم إنما الأعمال بالنيات فما دام ناويا الصوم فهو صائم وإذا نوى الإفطار أفطر ولأن الصوم نية وليس شيئا يفعل كما لو نوى قطع الصلاة فإنها تنقطع الصلاة. ومعنى قول المؤلف أفطر أي انقطعت نية الصوم وليس كمن أكل أو شرب وليس كمن أكل أو شرب. لماذا انقطع صومه؟ لماذا أفطر؟ لماذا انقطع صومه؟ لأنه قطع نيته. لماذا انقطع صومه؟ لأنه قطع نيته. وقد ذكرنا أن الصوم له ركنان: النية والإمساك. النية والإمساك. فإذا نوى الإفطار فقد نقض نية الصوم. إذا نوى الإفطار فقد نقض نية الصوم. ولا يجتمع في القلب نية الإفطار ونية الصوم في آن واحد. أي أنا صائم في الحال وأنا مفطر في الحال. فهذا قد أتى بنية تناقض النية التي يصح بها الصوم، فلهذا أفطر. ومن نوى الإفطار أفطر. He says, and his statement, and whoever intends to break their fast has broken their fast. And this is regardless if it's an obligatory fast or a voluntary fast. Regardless. And the proof is the statement of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. Actions are only by intentions. And so if he is intending to fasting, then he is fasting. If he is intending to fast, he is fasting. And if he intends to break his fast, he has broken his fast. And he says, because fasting is a niyyah, and it's not an active action that you're doing. Just like if someone intends to cut their salah, then their salah is cut. Then they have gone out of salah. And the meaning of the statement of the author, rahimahullah, aftar, has broken his fast, meaning the intention of fasting has been cut off. The intention of fasting has been cut off. And it's not like someone who ate or drank. That's worse, of course. So why is his fast broken if he intends, I intend to break my fast? He didn't eat or drink. He intended to break his fast. Why is his fast broken? Why did he is considered someone afdal? Because he cut his intention. Because he cut his intention. And we had mentioned that fasting has two pillars. What are they? Withholding and intention. Withholding and tension. Niyyah and imsak. And so if you intend to break your fast, then you have negated the intention of fasting. And that's one of the pillars of fasting. If you've intended to break your fast, then you have negated your intention of fasting. And it's not possible to have in your heart at the same time a firm intention to fast and a firm intention to break your fast. Meaning at the same moment, I am fasting and I am breaking my fast. Right? So one negates the other. One negates the other. So if he comes with that intention, breaking my fast, then he has contradicted the intention which is a condition for your fast to be correct. Understood? Even, yeah. This is because this is intention. قال رحمه الله وبناء على ذلك لو نواه بعد ذلك نفلا أي بعد أن قطع نيته وفسد صومه لو نواه بعد ذلك نفلا في أثناء النهار جاز إلا أن يكون في رمضان فإن كان في رمضان فإنه لا يجوز لأنه لا يصح في رمضان صوم غيره لأنه لا يصح في رمضان صوم غيره يعني رجل لو كان مسافرا مثلا عدة أيام وقال مسافر ويجوز له الفطر قال والله اليوم يعني يوم الاثنين سأصوم هذا اليوم نفلا في رمضان هل له ذلك؟ ليس له ذلك بل نقول له إن كنت صائما فصم رمضان إن كنت صائما فصم رمضان فلا يجوز أن يصام في رمضان غير رمضان لا يجوز أن يصام في رمضان غير رمضان. He says, and so according to this, if he intends it after that as a nafil, meaning after he has cut his intention, if he intends it as a nafil during the day, it's permissible. For example, someone is fasting, and then he intended to break his fast, then what happens to his fasting? It's corrupted. His fasting is corrupted. Can he start the intention again during the day as a voluntary fast? Yes, he can. He can do that. He says, unless it's in Ramadan. Unless it's in Ramadan. If it's in Ramadan, it's not permissible because no fasting in Ramadan is correct unless it is Ramadan. Okay? It's not correct to fast anything in Ramadan except Ramadan. And that's possible. You could fast something other than Ramadan. For example, someone is traveling for a number of days. Is he allowed to break his fast? He's allowed to break his fast. And one of the days is he's traveling in Ramadan. He's traveling in Ramadan. One of the days is a Monday. He says, this is a virtuous day. I'm not fasting. Let me just fast this day voluntarily. In Ramadan. Can he do that? He can't do that. We say to him, if you're fasting, you must fast Ramadan. If you're fasting in Ramadan, it must be Ramadan. Or he says, I remembered I have to make up an expiation for an oath that I did. I'm a traveler. I could break my fast. Let me just try to make up what I have to do. Can he do that? No. If you're fasting Ramadan, has to be Ramadan. طيب. ثم ذكر الشيخ بعض المسائل نختم بها. The Shaykh mentioned some issues here and we'll end with this. قال رحمه الله: الأولى: إنسان صائم نفلا ثم نوى الإفطار ثم قيل له: كيف تفطر؟ أي نوى الإفطار فأفطر. نوى الإفطار فأفطر. ثم قيل له: كيف تفطر؟ كيف تفطر؟ لم يبق من الوقت إلا أقل من نصف اليوم. قال: إذن أنا صائم. هل يكتب له صيام يوم أو من النية الثانية؟ الجواب: من النية الثانية، لأنه قطع النية الأولى وصار مفطرا. First issue: someone is fasting voluntarily and he intended to break his fast. He came with the intention of breaking his fast. What happens to his fasting? Corrupted. His fasting is corrupted. His fasting ends like that. So someone says to him, why are you breaking your fast? There isn't that much time left. Just fast. And he says, okay, then I am fasting. So, is he rewarded for fasting the day or for fasting from that second intention? From the second intention. Because his first fasting was corrupted. He broke his fast. He broke his fast. And so he's rewarded from that second intention. الثانية: إنسان صائم وعزم على أنه إن وجد ماء شربه فهل يفسد صومه؟ أو قال مثلا: إن جاء فلان فأنا سأفطر. إن جاء فلان فأنا سأفطر. قال: الجواب: لا يفسد صومه، لأن المحظور في العبادة لا تفسد العبادة به إلا بفعله، ولا تفسد بنية فعله. تفسد بفعله ولا تفسد بنية فعله. ويلحق بهذه المسألة لو تردد في قطع نية صومه. لو تردد في قطع نية صومه فإنه لا يفطر. فإنه لا يفطر لأنه لم يجزم ولم يعزم على قطعها. The second: a person is fasting and says, if I find water, I will drink it. Okay? Is his fasting corrupted by that intention? If he says, if I get food later, if some food comes, I'll eat it. Or he says, if I get some water later, if I find some water, I'm gonna drink it. And also, you can say, if he's fasting and he says, if fulan comes, then I'm going to eat. I'm going to break my fast. Is his fasting corrupted in that case? He said the answer is that his fasting is not corrupted. Because doing something prohibited, the prohibition in worship is to do something which is prohibited, not to intend something which is prohibited. Did you guys get this one? The difference between this one and the one who had the intention, I've broken my fast now, is that this person attached breaking his fast to something else. It's not like he said, I have broken my fast now. I'm intending right now to break my fast. No. He's saying, well, if someone comes to my house, I'll break my fast, for example. Okay. And that may happen and may not happen. Okay, so there's a difference here. And he's attaching his fasting to something else. Similar to this issue is if someone is hesitant whether to break their fast or not. Someone is fasting and says, I don't know, should I continue fasting or should I not? Does his fasting become corrupted? Does that cut his intention or not? In this case, it doesn't. Because he didn't have the firm intention to cut it. There are people of knowledge who consider this case, they say you've broken your fast. They say you've broken your fast. But this seems to be a stronger position. So the Shaykh says, قال وهذه قاعدة مفيدة وهي أن من نوى الخروج من العبادة فسدت إلا في الحج والعمرة ومن نوى فعل المحذور في العبادة لم تفسد إلا بفعله. ولهذا أمثلة منها ما ذكرناه هنا في مسألة الصوم، ومنها ما لو كان متحريا لكلام من الهاتف فدخل في الصلاة ومن نيته أنه إن كلمه من يتحراه أجابه ومن نيته أنه إن كلمه من يتحراه أجابه فلم يكلمه فصلاته لا تفسد. He says, and this is a beneficial principle, and that is that if someone has the intention to exit out of a form of worship, then that worship has become corrupted, except in Hajj and Umrah. Except in Hajj and Umrah. Because in Hajj and Umrah, it's haram for you to exit out of it. You can't exit until you complete it. So he says this is a beneficial principle, and that is if someone intends to exit out of a form of worship, then he has exited out of it unless it's Hajj and Umrah. And whoever intends to do something which is prohibited in a form of worship, then it is not corrupted unless he does it. Unless he does it. He says, and this has examples. One of them is the one we mentioned regarding fasting. For example, also, if someone is waiting for a phone call and he goes into prayer and he says, if that person calls me, then I am going to answer the phone. He went into the salah with that intention. Okay? His intention is, I'm going to answer the phone, meaning break my salah if that person calls. And he didn't call him. And so his prayer is not corrupted. Even though he had the intention that I would go out of it. But he didn't actually do it. He didn't actually do the prohibited action. And so his salah was not corrupted. Yeah, you could. You could. And so in this case, the intention is attached to something. Like the one who said, if I get some water, I will break my fast. Okay? But it's different from the one who actually intended to break their fast. Because that person had actually did the intention. They actually carried out the intention. Now I have broken my fast. You understand the difference? قال رحمه الله الثالثة سبق أن من نوى الإفطار أنه يفطر فهل يباح له الاستمرار في الفطر بالأكل والشرب مثلا وهو في رمضان؟ الجواب إن كان ممن يباح له الفطر كالمريض والمسافر فلا بأس وإن كان لا يباح له الفطر فيلزمه الإمساك والقضاء مع الإثم فيلزمه الإمساك والقضاء مع الإثم. وقولنا يلزمه القضاء لأنه لما شرع فيه ألزم نفسه به فصار في حقه كالنذر بخلاف من لم يصم من الأصل متعمدا فهذا لا يقضي ولو قضاه لم يقبل منه لقوله صلى الله عليه وسلم من عمل عملا ليس عليه أمرنا فهو رد. وأما حديث من أفطر يوما من رمضان متعمدا لم يقضه صوم الدهر فهذا حديث ضعيف وعلى تقدير صحته يكون المعنى أنه لا يكون كالذي فعل في وقته أي كالذي صام في وقته. Final issue, third. He said the third. We previously mentioned that the one who intends to break their fast has the intention that they have broken their fast. What happens to their fast? They have broken their fast. Okay, so are they allowed to eat and drink, for example, while they are in Ramadan? They corrupted their fast. Are they allowed to eat and drink? Huh? Technically, or not technically. Technically yes, but not technically no. Huh? He says the answer. If he's allowed to break his fast, then he can eat and drink. Like a traveler, for example. If a traveler made the intention, and he's allowed to break his fast, he had the intention of breaking the fast, broke his fast with his intention, can he eat and drink later? Yes, he can, because he's allowed to break his fast. However, if it's someone who's not allowed to break their fast, then it's an obligation on him to withhold and to make it up, and he is sinful. To withhold because he broke his fast without a legitimate excuse. And he makes it up and he is sinful. He says, in our statement, he is required to make it up. Why? Because once he started doing that fasting, he made it a requirement upon himself and it becomes like a vow. Meaning he went into the fasting. He went into the fasting. As opposed to someone who didn't fast from the beginning. He didn't even fast the day in Ramadan. He didn't even go into the fasting. In that case, that person does not make it up. Okay? Why doesn't make it up? And he says, the Shaykh, and even if he makes it up, it's not accepted from him. Due to the statement of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, من عمل عملا ليس عليه أمرنا فهو رد. من عمل عملا ليس عليه أمرنا فهو رد. It's rejected. As for the hadith, why doesn't this person make it up and the other one does? You guys got the difference? Someone, he sinfully, without an excuse, says, I'm not going to even fast tomorrow. And he doesn't fast the day. The Shaykh is saying he doesn't make it up. Someone else started the day fasting, and then broke his fast without an excuse. He's saying that person makes it up, but the first case, he doesn't make it up. Why doesn't the first person make it up? Because he didn't even go into the form of worship. It doesn't mean that what he did is easy. It's just that it's not even legislated for this person to fast, to make it up. It's not even legislated for this person to make it up. That's the opinion of the Shaykh, rahimahullah. That's the opinion of the Shaykh. He says, as for the hadith which says, whoever breaks their fast a day of Ramadan on purpose, then fasting forever will not make it up. He says this hadith is da'if. He said this hadith is weak. And even if we were to assume it's correct, then the meaning is that he's not like someone who did it in its time. Someone who fasted in its time. We're going to talk about the one who breaks their fast on purpose, doesn't fast, do they make it up or not? We're going to talk about that later. ثم شرع المؤلف رحمه الله في باب ما يفسد الصوم. After this comes the chapter of the things that corrupt fasting and obligate the kafara, obligate the expiation. And so we'll go into that next lesson بإذن الله تبارك وتعالى وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه.